Like you said, I serve the citizens of Linn County as your Linn County supervisor. I was elected in 2008 as the lone Republican on a 5-member board, and there were lots of 5-to-1 votes on budget and tax issues. So I really identify with Congressman Ron Paul. People want principled leadership. They want something more than politics as usual in Washington, D.C., that kind of crowd. Because where has it gotten us? It's gotten us nowhere. My 2 little kids are why I ran for office, and they're in the crowd tonight. They're back there on their iPad. Not paying very much attention. But I want to give them a community, and I want a better community, and I want to give them a better country. That's why I've endorsed Congressman Ron Paul. I think he's the most electable in my eyes because he's the most principled. He sticks to his principles, even when he's the lone member to vote no on something in Congress. He's a man who does what he says. He walks the walk on fiscal responsibility, on taxes, and on individual liberty, and that's important to me. So Kennedy and Quinn, I want to introduce to you the next President of the United States, Congressman Ron Paul.
I want to introduce 2 members of my family. I have 2 granddaughters with me. They're sisters. They're sitting over here, but have them stand. I was told we were having a little trouble with our microphone, and I thought, first thing I thought was Ben Bernanke got to it. The Ben's after me. But we have to be after the Ben if we want to get back our freedoms and get back some jobs and get back to common sense. You know, other Republicans have been rather challenging, and they'll say, it's impossible, he's out of step, he wants to balance the budget. That's being out of step. And he says, how in the world can he get crowds out and get support? He wants to end all the war and bring the troops.
Yeah!
Federal Reserve, that we ought to know what they're doing, who they're bailing out, who their buddies are, and we need to find out exactly. We need an audit of the Federal Reserve with plans that we rein in the Federal Reserve, and if not someday, maybe even abolish the Federal Reserve. There's another little issue that they think others think is so unimportant. But to me, it is the issue, and that is the issue of personal liberty. The fact that we as individuals, as Americans, we should have a right to our life, we should have a right to our liberty, we should have the right to the fruits of our labor, and we ought to have the right to our privacy, and we ought to have the right to deal with our own life as we choose. Now we've had an attack on personal liberty. It hasn't happened with this administration. There's a lot wrong with this administration. Believe me, I do a lot of complaining. But it's been going on for a long time. There has been erosion of our freedoms. There has been an accumulation of special interest control of our government for a long, long time. And that is the real problem. We have rewarded those individuals who call themselves lobbyists, and they go to Washington because they think they own Washington, and in some ways they do, and in many ways we have to reverse that. It is we the people who should own the government.
Yeah.
We are indeed in trouble. Our liberties are threatened. The laws are continually being passed. This past year has not been good. 10 years ago, we had a bad setback after 9/11, a terrible time in our history and something that we had to deal with and still have to deal with. But you're not to be punished. You're not supposed to be punished by the passage of the Patriot Act. That's not going to make us safer. That makes us less safe, and we have lots of liberties. I'd like to when it comes to personal liberty. I have a belief in liberty that, if you understand it, it really brings people together. I think it's a magnificent position to hold because we don't have to determine what people will do with their liberty. They can use it as they see fit. You can't abuse it as you see fit. You can't break your promises. You can't steal from people. You can't hurt from people. You can't force other people to do anything you want them to do. And you have to be willing to tolerate other people's opinions and their lifestyle. And under those conditions, people should come together, not because we all agree on religion or personal habits or intellectual pursuits, but we should come together because our lives are enhanced by the endorsement by all elements to come together, and it's up to the individual to own their life and to run their life as they see fit and not be penalized in any way by the government. Philosophy that I follow, and that is that my goal in life, and I think it is for most people, is to seek virtue and excellence, to try and improve ourselves and try to be more excellent, and to search for truth and try to get truthful answers on how the world works and how the politics works and how economics works and how foreign policy works. But when governments take over that role of trying to impose on you virtue and excellence, there's no freedom left. Believe me, they become judgmental. They decide what your habits should be, or they decide how you should spend your money. Freedom is one issue. It brings people together. Personal liberty and economic liberty are one and the same. It's based on the fundamental fact that we have a right to our life. We have a right to our liberty. It's natural. It's God-given. And it follows that we ought to have a right to keep the fruits of our labor.